Finding out why I do what I do was important for me. And I believe you can discover your why too. It's inside of you, like it was for me. You just need to look closer to who you are. Here's my story. When I was growing up, in the beginning of every summer, my parents would drop me off at my grandma's house, my dad's mom's house. She lived by herself in a small village 12 kilometers from the town. I have many memories hitchhiking with my dad. We walked or took the tram to the outskirts of the town, car rides with strangers, literally. And then when we got to the village center, we had to walk to the outskirts to get to my grandma's house. I remember we always found new friends, a cat, a dog, a, a duck, a goose, a horse, or a donkey. The village was always full of new experiences for me. As a child who was growing up in a concrete apartment building in a busy town, these summers felt like freedom and exploration. When I was at my grandma's house, I became one of the villagers. Grandma would take me to visit her friends and extended family. She would introduce me to everyone we met, and she would make sure that everyone knew I belonged to her as her granddaughter, and I belonged to the villagers as one of them. I've never realized this until this moment that what she did was so impactful. Grandma didn't say that I was visiting from the town. She always said I was there with her. Thus, I never felt like a visitor, and nobody treated me like a visitor either. During my stay there at my grandma's house, she would ask me to go get things on my own. I remember one time when I went to the store to get bread. On my way there, everyone that I met said hello to me, asked me how I was, how my grandma was, inquired about where I was going, and then wished me luck to go to the store and also made sure that I was safe. As part of the villagers, everyone cared for me, and I felt that I was cared and protected by everyone. I was also the blessed one. My grandma was a modest woman who lived in a house that didn't have plumbing. Water was outside in a well, and you had to pull it up with a bucket. And she had an outhouse. I remember she had electricity because I remember she had half of the fridge that we had back at home in the city. And she had a TV in one of the bedrooms that after you turned it on, I don't know, a couple of minutes, it just quit. Grandma lived alone because my grandma died when I was young. He was her second husband. Her first husband never returned from the war. And grandma was the wisest person I have ever met, despite the fact that she only had 4 years of education. The war cut short her opportunity to learn. But growing up, I didn't know that. What I knew as a child was that everyone loved grandma. People would stop by, come in, and say hello. They would check on her. They would always check on her. On the streets, people would greet her with a smile, sometimes with a hug, and the conversations were always full of kindness, loving, and friendliness. I felt her warmth, her optimism, and her faith in every interaction. She didn't have wealth to give, but she had an infinite wealth of kindness towards everyone. She lived in the present, and she was always in the present with everyone. I felt her presence as a child just by watching these interactions. So I have no doubt that those who received her presence felt it too. One day, this presence of hers gave me the biggest gift I could have ever received from her. I remember I was around 5 or 6 years old. I wasn't in school yet. Um, but it was one of those memories that you just remember. We were sitting on her folding couch that at night turned into my bed. We must have been daydreaming, or we just finished telling a story. I loved her stories. She didn't have toys for me to play with, and I wouldn't have wanted them anyways. She taught me about so many things, about gardening, about plants, about trees, about flowers, about bees. She taught me about chickens and dogs and ducks and pigs. She was an amazing woman. But her stories was the best time of the day for me as a child. I would ask her all sorts of questions and she would answer them all. I would ask her about her life, her childhood, and her experience during the war. My curiosity was thriving when I was with her. She always listened to me and always gave me her attention. So that day, she turned to me and said, Andrea, I have a question for you. And that day was special because usually I asked the questions and she answered them. So when she said, I have a question for you, I was so excited. Yes, Grandma. So she looked at me and asked, Andrea, what do you think people will do after I die? I remember I didn't think twice about the answer. My face turned happy, my voice was cheerful, and I joyfully started telling her all about the big party that I imagined would happen at her house. Probably the whole village would be there, we would have good food and good music, and we would celebrate her life. My grandma's face turned puzzled. I could see that she was surprised by my answer. It wasn't the normal or the obvious answer, although I'm not sure that she wanted to hear that. But I remember that her eyebrows lifted like she wanted to correct me, but she didn't. She smiled and kindly said, Tell me more. And I did. I imagined all sorts of things with all sorts of details about what and how we would celebrate her after her death. I felt so much joy telling her about that celebration that I can feel it even right now. I was young. I had no concept of death, dying, or mourning. I only knew about what was in my heart. And what was in my heart were all those experiences that I have experienced while being with her. They were memories of joy, happiness, and celebration of life. Why wouldn't I continue to live life like that? My grandma couldn't have wanted for me to be sad, depressed, or isolated. She would have wanted me to live a full life. I know. A life filled with everything that I wanted to fill it with, my wants, my wishes, and my dreams. For many years, I didn't even realize how significant this moment, this memory was for me. I think my discovery came after someone asked me, Andrea, where do you gain your power of choosing to be yourself and believe in yourself no matter the situation and the circumstances? That question got me wondering. I didn't know. I didn't know where my power was coming from, yet it existed. Others saw it. I saw it. I knew about it. So it must be rooted inside of me somewhere. That question started me on a journey, on an inner journey that would change my life and my work. As a result, I uncovered the gift, my grandma's gift. It was like a hidden diamond that had been covered up by so many other painful memories in my life. And for years, I was afraid to look there because of the fear of reliving those painful memories again. But this time I knew digging deeper would become my transition through those memories. What grandma gave me that day was the gift of seeing me for who I truly was. She didn't judge me for being different. She didn't scold me for being wrong. And she didn't want to change me either. She accepted me for who I was. She allowed me to be in that space of my very essence and to invite my curiosity and creativity to imagine something that hasn't been created yet. She understood how important it was to hold such a space for someone indifferent of their age and listen. She knew when you listen like that, you can really see and hear someone. As she used to say, you can hear someone's heart sing when you listen. That's a very special moment because when you hear someone's heart sing, you don't listen with your ears, listen with your heart. And this is how one heart can open up another heart. My grandma's biggest gift to me was giving me this experience of truly being seen and heard. It sounds like such a small thing. Do you really want someone to see and hear you in this life? Or do you want to be rich and successful instead? Well, I say yes, 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 you do want someone to see and hear you. You just don't know what you're missing until you feel seen and heard by someone. I am blessed to have found this memory and my grandma's gift. Many people, including you, I believe, had hidden such a memory in their hearts somewhere deep down and had forgotten about their gift. Yet your why, your memory, your gift is inside of you. I know it. I have been witnessing it all over in my work. When I have powerful conversations with engineers and when I listen to them like my grandma listened to me, those engineers can locate their memories again. They can connect to their why again. And so can you. You have been given a gift too. Go find it. If I could have found it, you can find it too. I believe in you. Thanks for listening.